Should be getting hosted over on mine as well, mate. You should be. Sweet. It works. Yay.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Leithal Live. I, of course, am Leithal. I'm joined today by two very special guests. First up, we have Pat from the Aussie Gamers Experience. Welcome.
How you doing? Thank you, mate. Thank you, mate. How are you?
Good. How is Sydney this evening?
Windy. Very windy. Apparently we're going to get snow not too far away, so it's good. It's good. It's nice and cold and you would like.
About the same in Melbourne. Also in Melbourne, we've got Dan from Let's Talk Gaming. Welcome. Oh no, Dan, your audio's gone again.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
There you
go. I knew it was going to happen. It's good to be back on the podcast again. Technical issues and all.
Yes. So, welcome. It's been a while since we've been on a podcast together.
Yeah.
Many years.
Good 5 years or so.
Crazy. Thanks for making me feel old. Welcome. We are here, of course, to talk about The Last of Us 2. It is a spoiler-filled special, so if you are in the middle of playing it, why? But maybe tune out, come back later, because we're going to spoil and talk about everything. So probably not a good idea to stick around. But before we do that, I'm just going to run through some news. Now, this is mainly from today and the big story of the week. So, Minecraft. Do we play it? Do we still
more than I probably care.
Not near the thing.
More than I care to admit. Let's just say that much.
Very true. So it's getting Jurassic World DLC. You'll be able to manage a dino-themed park inside the game. There'll be 60 dinosaurs, 21 skins, and locations from the film inside the game. This is enough to get me back.
Yeah, it's only relatively cheap. I think it's only like $12.
Really?
Yeah. It's I may or may not have had a look today.
Are they hard up?
Relatively.
Are they hard up for subscribers or?
No, I think it's just the whole store was pretty well priced.
Right.
So I don't know how much you could actually do with dinosaurs in a brick-like world, but I'm looking to give it a go eventually.
Dan, is that enough to get you back? Or into
the question is enough to get me started. I don't think it is, considering there's a I think it was released a few years ago now, but like the Jurassic World game where you manage your own theme park and stuff, like that. Yeah. I feel like that would appeal to me much more. But I guess if you're already playing Minecraft and you want more content, like there's nothing wrong with getting more content for a game you're already playing. So, good on anyone that play it. I don't think we'll get me in, but more content for people isn't a bad thing.
Especially if it's that cheap. That's very well priced.
Yeah.
WB Games Montreal have launched the new website for their mystery Batman game, even though everyone apparently knows what it is. It'll be revealed at DC Fandom this weekend. The game is rumoured to be around the Court of Owls story. Now, there is no clue on the game's website. Apparently, Two-Face and Batgirl are apparently going to be part of it. There's some coding on the website that someone looked at. Apparently, it's there. I don't know. I haven't read the comics, so I've got no idea if that's true. But we will find out this weekend. WB Games Montreal, are they the ones that did the Origins game?
Correct. Yes, they are.
AKA the least favourite of the series. Awkward.
An ugly step up.
Super awkward. I think I actually splashed out and I remember buying the Ultimate Edition. It came with a Joker Arkham Asylum prison room setup that had working lights. And it was the only consolation for the game being as terrible as it was.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Nintendo released an Indie Direct overnight, confirming a slew of games coming to the system. Among them, and I picked this because I really didn't see this coming, Untitled Goose Game will be getting a free 2-player co-op mode in September. What?
Why not?
Why not exactly?
So we need
how much fun can you have with that game?
Angry geese attacking people. That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. I'll be on it for sure.
That could be fun. I don't know if it's online. I didn't read it was online. It just said 2-player co-op. So...
Is it going across all consoles, or did it just come to Switch initially?
Well, they just announced it for Switch. I imagine it'll go to all, maybe? I don't know. It's only confirmed for Switch at the moment. But that will be interesting, to see what happens with the other consoles. Speaking of other consoles, PlayStation 5. Oh no! Arcane have confirmed that Deathloop has now been delayed to 2021. So there's a launch game gone, which is pretty disappointing. The studio have stated that working from home and COVID restrictions have hindered the creation and polish that the game requires for its full release. First Halo, now Deathloop. I don't know.
Well, I feel like at this point, COVID's not... I feel like COVID is not an excuse anymore. It's just a reality for so many of these studios. So they pretty much all just come out and say, listen, just expect a delay or two.
Or 10.
Yeah,
I will still be very surprised if we have the Xbox, I keep saying One X, Series X, and PS5 by Christmas. I'll be very surprised.
That's a hot take.
Very surprised. Well, it's nearly September. We don't have a date. We don't have a price for either.
Yeah.
I hope you're wrong.
I know. I hope I'm wrong. I'm lowering my expectations so it doesn't. Yeah. Anyway. Biggest news story of the week, and this is strange. Epic Games put a sneaky update into Fortnite on iOS and Android, giving players option to pay through their own website direct, which is a breach of the iOS and Android store policies, because they take a 30% cut of the profits from Apple Pay and Google Pay. So Fortnite got removed on both. Now Epic is taking Apple to court, stating that forcing Apple Pay is anti-competitive. Apple swiftly responded they've removed Epic's access to the dev kits for iOS, which includes Unreal Engine. It's moving really, really quickly. Every day they're swiping back and forth. So this will be very interesting, I think, as to where this is going to go. Because there's a lot of smaller indie games on Apple that I'm sure would enjoy 30% more money if they didn't have to use Apple Pay. But then Epic, they're not short of $1.
That's what it comes down to, isn't it? It's two two massive or three massive companies fighting about $1.
Yeah. And the other thing to mention is that they're not going as hard after Google because you can play Fortnite on Android phones through other means, which they allow, whereas on iOS, there's only one way to get games on that phone, and that's what they're trying to butt up against and use as their ammunition.
Well, interestingly enough, I don't have Fortnite because I don't play it. So I went onto the Android store, couldn't find it, but I went onto the Samsung game store and it was still there, so I could still download it that way.
Yeah, it's Google Play that they've moved away from. So there's lots of different ways on Android you can actually play it and download it. It's just that actual Google Play store that's what do they call it? They do all the checks and everything via that. That's where they've taken it off from.
All right. Sorry, I've just got a message really bad that echoes. Okay. Sorry, hang on a second. Super professional.
That's live streaming. You never know what's going to happen.
Crazy. Is it any better now?
I think it was just when one of us was talking.
Right. Okay. All right.
So I don't know anyone in the chat.
There we go.
Yeah,
yes.
that's better.
Okay. Good. Fixed. Sweet. Sorry about that. Go, Alistair. Super professional. All right. So.
Oh, that's probably just the joys of Streamlabs, mate.
It happens.
Turn my volume up. Okay. Done. All right. So let's jump into Last of Us 2 now. So I'm guessing that you both played it and finished it.
A couple of times now.
A couple of times. Wow. That's very impressive.
That's the one for me, but I'm constantly going back and thinking about it, and constantly going back and watching clips and just trying to look through all the different accessibility features and all, just trying to go deep dive without actually having to put myself through all that emotion again.
Yeah. I played it through as soon as I got it, and then went straight into Ghost of Tsushima, and I haven't gone back. It safe to say it was very, very, very emotional experience, and mixing that with COVID stage 4 restrictions wasn't too great for my mental health. So once was enough. I will go back when we get the inevitable PS5 remastered Super Ultimate Edition version that I'm sure will happen at some point. But I will ask you before I go, what's your overall thoughts on the game, Pat? What were your...
Before we jump into it, do you want to play with those levels again?
Still bad?
Yeah, we've got Rune Cracker and Bizzle in the chat. Just saying it's come back with a bit of a vengeance.
Far out. I thought it was fixed. Alrighty. Echo is gone. Alistair, too soft. Okay. I will talk more into my microphone. All right.
Is it just me that's too loud, or
It shouldn't be, because I can see your levels and they're fine.
they're fine?
Yeah. Hopefully I'm not popping.
You all good?
No?
All right.
All good.
Wow.
All right. Well, a bit of an overview on the game. This was a bit of an emotional roller coaster, wasn't it? So I actually took a long time to play the first one, and it wasn't through one of my co-hosts that does Age XP with me, Lucas, that he's an absolutely massive fan. He's already platinum number 2.
Wow.
And he was hounding to give number 1 a go. And as soon as I, got through the first little bit of it and got really stuck into it, I fell in love with it. So I was itching at the bit for this one. But it's a game that kind of made me feel things that a video game has never done before, and do things, in a way that, it's you couldn't have told this story through any other media. I think a video game, the way this story was done was absolutely spot on. Even through all the controversies with it, I really enjoyed it.
Okay, I can't believe you platinumed it. Wow.
Yeah, Luke's already platinumed it, so I'm not far off now. So
nice. Dan, thoughts? Just overall, yeah.
Yeah, I really love the game. That it's hugely ambitious. It gave me a little bit of Red Dead 2 vibes as well, just the way it told a story and the way it kind of tried to get you to just stay with it for a bit and not try and hurry you along. But I'm still tossing and turning about how I compare it to the first one. But it's one of the elite games that I've played, especially this generation.
Okay, so I think we're all on the same page. I was definitely in the same class. I could not, the first one was great. I feel like I liked this one better. Don't hate me. Just the, as Pat was saying, the take on the story was so different, and I didn't read any of the leaks, which we'll get to later. So I had no idea about any of it. So when it was all happening, to me, it was quite shocking and whoa, what is going on? What are they doing? They're not killing Joel. That's stupid. And then the second that you start playing as Abby and you're like, whoa, really? And I'm still playing as Abby 2 hours later? What? It's just such a different take on a game, especially a big franchise like this. Even though it's only the second game, it's still the first one was massive. So yeah, so we touched on the leaks. Did you guys both hear about the leaks before you played the game, or did you successfully avoid them?
I successfully avoided them.
Yeah.
Because I was looking forward to it, and the leaks were put out of there by people that were disgruntled, with the game, and thought they had some sort of ownership over these characters, or however they got to this point to want to, try and ruin everyone else's take on it because of, they didn't like something. So a lot of that stuff I just stayed away from. I turned off everything on the socials that was attached to anything The Last of Us, and it was good to see that come at a time when YouTube were making sure that people couldn't respond and put comments in videos and things like that, because it was just everywhere.
Wow. Dan?
Yeah, I avoided them all.
Okay.
I don't go into that many comment sections these days, just because they can, depending on what sites you go to, they just get negative real fast. So I try and stay away from that anyway.
Yeah.
But I wasn't even using Twitter much at the time, so I wasn't getting anything from there. And I even hesitated on our podcasts mentioning that I hadn't heard any leaks, just with the knowledge we don't have that. We have a fair few people that watch now regularly,
okay,
and good, but I just wanted to make sure for absolute certainty that no one was just going to post something just because they managed to see it that particular week. So I didn't even mention it there, just to avoid any type of spoiler.
Yeah. That's good that we all made it out the other side spoiler free. Do you think like the leaks negatively affected the game in any way. Like I've seen like all the sales figure, it's like the third highest selling PlayStation 4 game.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
I don't think it affected anything.
I don't think it necessarily affected sales, obviously. But I do think it does. It did harm the perception of the game a lot. Even when you had reviews and people's impressions coming straight out of launch, even all these people saying, "Oh, the leaks didn't matter," you still have people that just heard what they heard and they were just screaming from the rooftops like, "This is, don't listen to these people that played the game. Like, this is not what it is." And I do think it hurts the perspective because people were going in ready to have something that they didn't like. So it would have been interesting to see if that hadn't happened.
Yeah. After I finished, I actually went back and looked for, like, specifically for the spoilers, just to see where they were at. And you know, it was amazing to see just how spot on they were. But of everything that was written about these ones, it was all taken from someone who was just angry at the game, and who was angry because it didn't play out the way that they wanted the story to play out. And you know, that's every single thing that I found, whether it be, you know, written or YouTube or anything like that. It was all the same thing. You know, this isn't what I wanted, so here's me crying about it.
And no context.
No.
Yeah, I think the thing, and this is a really weird take for me, when I read the spoilers, I was like, oh, Abby is trans? Okay. I didn't get that from the game, but sure. And then
she's not.
And,
she's just
and yeah, then I found out that she wasn't trans, but the character who I also thought was trans was trans. And that made sense in the game because that was the storyline. And I'm like, well, why would Abby be trans and they don't say anything about it? That's strange to me. So I think that was the only spoiler. As soon as the Joel death happened, I did go and read the spoilers because I thought that was the biggest one. And
so you didn't even wait to finish the game?
No, because I'm a sucker for punishment. And that blew my mind a little bit. And when I heard Neil Druckmann say, "No, Abby's not trans. That's not a thing," like, yeah, there's no point in the game where it points to that. It's the other character whose name I've completely forgotten and stupidly didn't write down.
Lev.
That's it. And that storyline made sense. Like, you know, it was cast out by her mum, and then, you know, that whole thing was really, really good and not where I thought the story was going to go. There are a lot less zombies in this game. Sorry, infected. And a lot less combat. Just from playing the first game, did that affect the game for you at all, Pat? Or
no.
This
Neil Druckmann actually came out and said, you know, this game, the first game was about hope.
Yeah.
You know, and was about making sure that Abby and Joel survived. This game was about, you know, hatred or revenge. So it was a completely different style of game, and it was one that the very first time I played it, I was actually lucky enough to play it before release.
Oh wow!
And I played it through on just the easiest setting, just to get the story, you know, and sort of get through the story and just experience it and go from there. And there was times when I went absolutely brutal, you know, and my wife's sitting there on the couch and she's watching something on our tablet and I'm playing on the main TV. And there's a couple of times when she just sort of looked up and she's like, "Are you all right?" Because, like, did you need to do that? And it was just because that was something that I thought was necessary for that moment for Ellie to go feral, so to speak.
Was it the dogs?
I was going to say,
that killed me. My dog was sitting next to me on the lounge, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I have to do this. I'm sorry.
No, this was some of the combat when you were underground, and I was using sound to attract the clickers to the enemies, and just sitting back and watching them get devoured.
I loved that.
So it's not in there as much as I thought it would be. But to answer your question, Alistair, like, to me, I didn't mind so much that there weren't as many interactions with a lot of the clickers or runners or anything, because the reason I'm playing The Last of Us Part 2 was for the story. You're not going to learn anything new about Ellie or Abby by them interacting with clickers constantly. Like, the way you're going to learn about these characters is through interacting with other people or trying to get to other people, and even in combat learn about how they act. Like, you learn so much about Ellie during combat in this game just compared to where she was when the first game finished. You know, what she has learnt from Joel, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but what she has learnt from being with Joel, and even talking with Dina, and talking about her exes and stuff like that. Like, you're not going to get that interaction if you're constantly fighting clickers.
That's true. Uncle Chunt is in the chat, and there's quite a few people in the chat. Sorry, I'm just looking down now.
The man in the middle has joined
us. And he said, but you kill dogs in so many other games. That's true. But I feel like, I just want to come back to that point. I feel like because the time you get to the dog killing, the game is already at this crazy emotional high, and you're so invested in it that that point, killing the dogs, makes it so much worse than if I was just in another game shooting a dog. I don't know. That was my takeaway from it. And I also had my dog sitting next to me. I'm like, oh, crap. Sorry.
I found it easy if you just killed him from a distance and tried not to listen. That'd be a better way.
Yeah, it was definitely the Yelp. So, combat-wise... Oh, actually, we just went through that. So playing as Abby, going from her point of view, as like we are, older gamers. I'm not saying we're old. I'm just saying we're older. Older than a lot of the people who are speaking out against the game. And I feel like I heard Neil Druckmann on a podcast talking about this with Empire about the game. And basically he was saying that it takes an emotional maturity to understand playing as Abby, falling into her point of view, and understanding why she did what she did. Would you guys agree with that or disagree with that? Or
no, 100%. When I first started playing as Abby, I let her die quite a lot. And it wasn't until you start seeing the interaction that she has with other members of the the WLF that you sort of understand who she is and what she's coming from.
Yeah.
And you realise that, her and Ellie are very much cut from the same cloth. They're just
very similar.
They're both very similar people. They're both unfortunately consumed by vengeance, but they're doing what they think is the best thing for themselves to do to survive in this world now.
It was very interesting doing that turn because I loved Joel from the first game, right? And even when he was killed by Abby, I went, just from what we saw in the game of the first game, he'd been doing stuff for 20 years that we had no idea about. And they try and before Joel gets killed, they try and twist it to make you think it might be his brother, because they talk about when you're searching Eugene's place where all the weed is and that, and they talk about Tommy did some stuff back in the day, you know. So it makes you start to think maybe they're coming for Tommy and it's not Joel, but then it ends up being Joel. But that also just proved to me that there's so much that Joel has probably done, and this is just everything that's caught back up with him. And as I was playing through Abby, some of the first things you do as Abby is protect other people. Mm-hmm. And as you go on, a lot of her mission is about protecting others. Like, she's not someone that is sent out like an assassin. It's just that particular goal with Joel was to kill him and get her revenge, which doesn't satisfy her. But everything else she does in the game is about trying to protect other people or trying to make other people happy. And a lot of times she'll just make the wrong decision in that. And, you know, which you learn later on, like with her relationship, and she eventually wisens up and says, hey, get your priorities straight, because she's starting to see things of how things need to be. But it didn't take me long to fall into it, because I was really curious about how she became the way she is. And I was really wanting to get to the point where you fight Ellie, and that was a really big step, because when I got to that point, I didn't want to hurt Ellie, but Ellie was coming after me, and you know how dangerous Ellie is because you've been playing as her for how long. So that, I don't know, I fell into
I put the controller down and hoped it would be over.
Yeah, I hated pressing square when they were forcing you to in those moments, because I didn't want to hurt her. I was care for both in the end.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I've really understood like Ellie's point of view, and the Joel thing. Like, what he did at the end of the first game was incredibly selfish. Like, incredibly selfish. But you understand why he did it. You understand completely why he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And with Ellie in the second game, knowing what he did, and I felt like she was carrying around like a really, really heavy sense of guilt, knowing that she could possibly have stopped this whole thing from happening if, you know, she was the vaccine and they managed to get it to work. But Joel took that choice away from her without even giving her a choice. So that's where my head was at the start of the game, and when they weren't talking and they were talking and they were going to have dinner and that storyline happened. And yeah, the Abby thing by the end of the game, like looking back, I can't believe how much I was on Team Abby by the end of the game. Not that they were really necessarily against each other, like not that you have to pick a team, but I definitely understood from her side why she is the way she is and how they got there. Favorite part of the game? What was the moment when you were like, this is this game is just wow? What was that moment for you, Dan?
Ooh, can you go me next? I gotta think about this for a little bit longer.
No, there was so many, but one moment I had to sit there and I may have had a little bit of a tear, a bit of leakage. You've actually just typed it in the notes as well. The space scene and the in the capsule. Yeah. So Ellie and Joel go to the museum for Ellie's birthday, and you know you see her just become a kid for those few moments. And you know when you first meet Ellie in the first game, she's she's foul mouthed, she's self-aware, she's looking after herself. But then to see her be a child, I've got two daughters myself, and yeah, the just her and Joel interacting, to jump into the space capsule and have that moment for her birthday, that was a pretty special thing that's very much rung true through the whole game and stuck with me since.
One of my good friends, Ryan, has two kids, and he messaged me when that moment happened and said the same thing. The space shuttle scene. Wow.
Yep.
Even for me, who doesn't have kids, that scene was probably when I started like, yeah, this is to go from everything that it was up until that moment to completely just slamming on the brakes, slowing it down, throwing out Jurassic Park jokes. Like, yeah, exactly the same point for me as well.
Yeah, like Uncle Chunt said in the chat, healthy man leakage. Yeah. Yeah.
No matter what age you are.
Exactly.
So my favorite part, there are a few. There's a few that stand out. Ratkin is one of the things that stand out as moments. But I actually do think it's the ending battle, the ending fight between them. Reason being is because you've gone through 25 or so hours of these mixed emotions, constant mixed emotions. You're playing as Abby, you love Ellie. You're playing as Ellie, you love Ellie. She's making choices that you're literally talking to the screen saying, don't do it, but you're still trying to play as her because you want her to come out of it. You're playing as Abby, you start liking Abby. You're back to Ellie, coming to kill this other character that you now love, and it's just such this personal moment. Even the reveal that's like the start screen with the boat, and you're like, everything has come to this moment.
Loved that, yeah.
And you're doing this fighting. You're fighting Abby, who is not peak muscle bound Abby anymore, and Abby was able to get up and walk away, and you don't know if Ellie is yet in that position to get up and walk away because she's just managed to come all the way to Santa Barbara to do this, and everything is built up, and when it ends, you just have this just wave of emotion and just relief that these two characters are going to walk away, and they're not necessarily going away happy, but they both get to live on and learn from what has happened. And it just all hit me at once, and everything had built up to that moment. It was really impactful.
Okay, that's so funny because I forgot about that scene change of the beach on the title screen. That's so good. Did you have like a least favorite part, like a part where you're like, this probably shouldn't be in here. Why is this here?
I didn't have one where it shouldn't be in there. I had a part that made me exceptionally angry, and that was Tommy coming back to the ranch with Ewan and Dina all happy and enjoying life and whatnot, and Tommy comes limping in and puts this seed in her head to go and chase Abby again, and I was swearing at it. I was up out of my chair, walking, pacing the lounge room. What are you doing? Just yelling at the screen.
Yeah.
It was one thing that I felt I would have been, and it's a personal thing where I would have been happy with the game ending.
I was just about to say, did you feel like, because I thought that was the end of the game, and
yeah. I would have been happy with it ending that way. I'm
the tractor.
Yeah, I'm happy that it went further. Yeah. I do enjoy how it finished, but that bit with Tommy, just it got to me, I suppose.
Dan,
I think the game, for a game that does go for as long as it does, it's it's pretty well paced. I will say though, I think the fact that you play, almost the whole Jackson and going out and patrolling section first with Ali, and then you have 3 days of Ali, then you go 3 days of Abby, and then you come back to Ali basically at the end. I feel like in those first 3 days with Ali, that could have been truncated down to just 2 days, for instance. Like I feel like when I think of Abby's story of those 3 days, there are three specific start and end points for each of those days. The 3 days of Ali, they sort of blend together. The first day is mainly with Dina, and then day 2 and 3 kind of just blend because she's not. Because apart from being with Jessie for a little bit, she's on her own a lot of the time, so it all just kind of blends together for me. But that's probably it. Like the rest is all nitpicks, and I wouldn't say they detracted from the experience.
Okay. My least favorite part was the farm ending fake out. I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm surprised at how short it is, but sure, that's fine. And then, when it kept going, I was the same thing, yelling at the screen, like, what are you doing, you idiot? The Rat King was definitely my least favorite part. That was actually, like, for a game that didn't scare me with monsters much, that was the most terrifying part. And it was very, very late at night or early in the morning when I got to that scene. So that was not fun.
Yes.
I was playing on the story mode as well, just to get through the story. So I didn't find it that much of a challenge. I have heard though that it is quite obviously much more difficult on the higher levels. Dan, did you play on a non-story mode?
I played on normal, so just the one above. It's intense, but I think the game kind of also, because I watched some gameplay of other people playing it a little bit later on, and I think the game has a way that it will let the Ratkin kind of take as much damage as kind of what you have. Like if you don't have much ammo there, the fight won't last as long, but because it knows how much ammo you have. Because I remember laying so much into that thing to try and get it to die, and it did. And then I watched someone that was playing it on like Survivor, and they went through about 3 of their weapons, and it was killed. And I was like, that's weird. So I think the game recognizes how much ammo is actually in the scene and how much you have, and it dictates it. It wants you to have that feeling like you're running low. You're using everything you can to try and unload on this thing.
Did either of you expect more from that scene? Because that was like ground zero where it all began. I don't know. I found it besides the Rat King.
In Seattle.
Yeah. Besides the Rat King, I think I was expecting a lot more. But I think it was going back to my ideals from the first game when there were more infected. Just generally around. Did that come up with any of you, or?
Not so much. I think just because it was just that point in the game where you've already played, so much of the story without being constantly constantly attacked. So it kind of just kept going with it. It just sort of fit for me,
I kind of read it as like this is paying respect to the genre that it's in. Like I don't play that many Resident Evil games, but it really gave me Resident Evil vibes, and I've barely played them. So it had a look and a feel and a tension to it where this kind of genre is always born out of. And I think that's why I'm saying before with Ellie's days, they kind of blend together a bit. Whereas Abby, it's like, oh, this is the hospital day. Like this is the day you're gonna fight the Rat King, and you can separate it. So that's what works for me.
I mentioned before I was listening to a podcast with Neil Druckmann about the game. Originally, there was meant to be one extra day for both Ellie and Abby. Do you think that would have been too much?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I do. Because for one, I mean, I think we're all kind of on the same page, but I think they got across the story they wanted to tell. So I don't know what that extra day would have given you if you're just wanting to concentrate on these two characters mainly.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It was it was well told. If anything, I think they could have cut a couple of hours out of it.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know if you guys have anything for this question. I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about if you could change 3 things, what would they be about the game? And it can be any part of it. Story, graphics, sound, anything.
Yeah,
do you want to go one at a time, or or try and do 3?
If you've got, do you both have 3? No?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. I don't. I'll jump in first because I don't think I've actually got anything. I finished this game with such an appreciation of the story, of the overall, the overall message that I got from it. I was as a complete mess when Ellie tries to play the guitar at the end and can't. It's just, overall, I couldn't really pick anything to change about it.
Okay.
Except for some of the people whinging, I suppose.
Dan?
Not too much off the top of my head. The only thing I'd probably suggest, and it's not really things to change in the game. We've heard a lot of reports and things coming out about how Naughty Dog make their games, and it'd be good if that was changed in some way. Naughty Dog are incredible about how quickly they get out games, how quickly they churn them out, and how good they are by doing that. Not many studios can. But if I could have got this game with making sure that everyone was, and knowing how violent it is, and knowing how much people would have had to go through to make sure that the faces on the people that you kill are groaning and constantly working on that for 3 years straight. If you give those people some time, make this game in 4 years maybe, or 5 years. Just probably the practices behind I would appreciate, but it is always that toss and turn of, like, I want to support the people that made the game because they poured their heart and souls into it, but how do I show that I want Naughty Dog to do better about how they make their games? So it's a constant battle.
Well, even just like looking back on, like, when you look at PS3, and I know they're wildly different games. Like on PS3, we got Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and Last of Us 1. And on PS4, we got Uncharted 4 and Last of Us 2.
And Lost Legacy.
Okay. DLC. I don't know. I count that as DLC. Part of Uncharted 4.
It's not.
Package, sort of. I don't know.
Maybe a discussion for another
touchy
day.
subject.
Yes.
But yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And this game got delayed. How many times did this game get delayed? Like
Twice, I think.
Twice, yeah.
Oh no, sorry, there was 3 because of the indefinite.
That's right. Yeah, there was no date,
yes.
and then it was like, it's coming out next month.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think in game wise, I wouldn't change anything. So leads me on to the graphics. I still can't believe how incredible the animations and the graphics are in this game. Even like jumping straight into Ghosts of Tsushima, which is beautiful, but I feel like the characters really, really just look super super amazing in this game, like above anything that I've seen before, in my opinion.
Yeah, Naughty Dog seem to have a knack for getting the most out of these systems, don't they? Even going back as Uncharted 4. Uncharted's probably my biggest sort of fanboy series. I absolutely love it, and the sort of quality that they can push out of the PlayStation is unbelievable, and quite surprisingly with this one, even in graphic intensive areas, my PlayStation Pro didn't go crazy with
same.
the fan noise.
I was shocked. I was waiting for it, just any second now.
I have just a launch PS4. I'm still playing, still chugging along, and I don't think I really ever saw the game dip very much at all. I think there's a Digital Foundry video actually about it, how they compare the two versions, and it's like for some reason the base level they've just made a solid 30 frames, and is no matter, the worst part might be when you're swimming, but it's not noticeable. And yeah, I mean, I can't really comment on how loud it got because I was playing with headphones on, which I think only helped the experience anyway. But it's every game they bring out, I always think that is the best game that I've seen. Like, there are a lot of, and I think that because I play Ghost of Tsushima like you did, Alistair, and I think Ghost of Tsushima is a beautiful game, but it's beautiful in its art direction and its style to it. But when I look at Last of Us, it's about how photorealistic this world is, and how anytime you brush past a wall and you put your hand on it and you see the bloody handprint on the wall as you go past, and that's not necessarily like a cut scene or an animation that's forced upon you. Like, all these little just intricate details that are everywhere. I don't think there's no one else that can do it like Naughty Dog does.
Could not have said that better myself. When you said about the water, it just reminded me. The one thing that I probably would change is take that damn PS Vita out of the game. That was weird. I was like,
great.
Really?
Yeah. It's given Sony hope that people in the future will play it.
Do you know what? Like, I know everyone makes fun of that console, but I loved it. Like, I loved it. I remember having the Music Unlimited app on the Vita and buying a car attachment so it would play through my car stereo. So I had my Vita in my car playing music. Crazy.
Wow.
It does not work anymore. Sorry.
Let things go.
I know.
Let things go.
Actually went through last year. I was like, do you know what? I really want to play Golden Abyss because I feel like I only played it once. And when I found out it wasn't Naughty Dog, I got kind of like, I don't want to play this anymore. And tried to play it second time through and just didn't get into it at all. And then I realized how average the controls are on the Vita, and how not fun it was to play. Chunt says, RIP Vita, need a Vita 2. Agreed, Chunt, agreed.
Uncle Chunt, the speed at which you go through handhelds, no, you don't need a Vita 2.
Really?
He gets them and then gets rid of them.
I do that.
That's Jamie's influence. I'm gonna blame Jamie on that one.
Yeah. This is totally off topic. I bought a Animal Crossing Switch edition because I, was on a stupid whim to do it, and I didn't realize that you can't transfer your save file across. So I wiped my old Switch, sold it, loaded up Animal Crossing on the new Switch. Why is there no save data in the cloud? What? My 250 hours in this game is gone? Urgh. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what you get. That's what you get. I don't know if you've seen this question, Dan, but I snuck this one in because I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, both of you. We don't really know what Naughty Dog is doing next. I know that there's been rumors of Uncharted 5. I don't know how I feel about that. If it's not Uncharted 5, where would you like them to go? Is there any kind of like genre or even an existing franchise that you'd like to see them take on?
Do you want to go first, Pat, or?
No, go for it, mate.
So my answer probably gets a little bit long-winded because it turns into kind of like where's Sony Studios at the moment, because there's huge rumors the fact that there will be an Uncharted, but it will be made up of a new team as part of Sony San Diego, who make the MLB games, and that's where the next Uncharted would come from. I also have this personal feeling with Microsoft going out and purchasing all of these studios. I don't think Sony's going to do the same thing because I feel like they've had a history of it, but also it is easier for them to grow the companies that they have and split them into different teams rather than just go out and spend money to buy other studios. You mentioned Naughty Dog about how many games they had on the PlayStation 3. Well, that's because after Uncharted 2, they had a team go and work on Uncharted 3 while another team was working on The Last of Us.
Okay.
And then after Uncharted 3, they went, this is not working as well, so they moved everyone onto The Last of Us to finish it off. Guerrilla used to have their main studio in Guerrilla Cambridge. Guerrilla Cambridge shut down, but there's rumors that Guerrilla has now grown again, and they might be working on like a Killzone or something. So the other thing I noticed with Lost Legacy, they had Kurt Wagner, I think his name was one of the directors. And the other director went on to now he's directing the Marvel's Avengers game that's about to release.
Ooh.
And this Kurt Wagner, after giving him the opportunity to direct Lost Legacy and then him being part of this game as the game director, I feel like Naughty Dog are in a position where they have all this talent, and the more opportunity that they get, other people will come to poach them. So I think now is the time that they should start building out maybe two teams and giving more people more responsibility. So I actually think that's what they're going to do, and they will. My personal hope is that I'm thinking of like a sci-fi game. Think maybe in terms of scope, like original Mass Effect type, like build a world with characters, but it's not about necessarily going planets to planets. It's just about following this group of people and their relationships and stuff like that. That's kind of what I hope. And then that second team, I don't know if I want to Last of Us Part 3 or not, but I think Neil, more than even the first game, has more ideas for a Last of Us Part 3 than he did a Last of Us Part 2. But yeah, I'm hoping like a sci-fi out in space with a group of people type game.
Okay. Pat, any thoughts?
It's really hard to think where Naughty Dog's going to go next because they did. Was it Ratchet and Clank as well?
Jack and Daxter.
No, Jack and Daxter.
Jack and Daxter. That's right. It was one of those games that I never played. But I kind of think the way, critically The Last of Us Part 2 has been very well received, and it's kind of opened up this media or this section of the media for so long that gaming was just for kids, and now it's shown that you've had this very adult focused, very multi-layered title that's been able to tell this very intricate story. And this version of it just happened to be exceptionally brutal as well, but it's told a story that you wouldn't have been able to tell in another media. You couldn't have had a movie that told it in this depth, that had this sort of interaction from yourself with the highs and the lows and whatnot that you go through. I wouldn't mind seeing them taking that and kind of running with it, and using some more of those themes in the next style. I think that's one thing that does set Sony and Microsoft, or the PlayStation and the Xbox, apart with their exclusive titles. The Sony titles seem to be more focused at the older audience, and I think they should really be capitalizing on that, because, like you said, Naughty Dog has got some amazing talent there, and I just kind of want to see them let off the leash with what the PS5 can do. We're at a point now where graphically there's not a lot more that we can reach, but the way the story can be told is the next stage, I think.
And reduced loading times. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, hold on. Did you notice the loading times?
No, I'm not talking about The Last of Us Part 2.
Two.
I'm talking about other games. So I'm recently been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey on Xbox One X, which is apparently the most powerful, and the load time is painful. Like, it is painful. So I'm looking forward to
the way they load the games.
As far as Naughty Dog go for me, I am with you having the different teams. I did think sci-fi as well, but then I also thought maybe, like, I'm not saying James Bond, but like a James Bond spy kind of story.
Oh yeah.
Could
keep moving on that
be,
stealth.
Yeah.
Stealth
could
action.
be really well told using, what they have. I'm not hugely into the spy genre, but if Naughty Dog did it, I would play it. Literally at this point, they could release anything and I would play it, and I would just go, sure.
I like that thought, though. That's a good idea. Well, they both are, whether it be the sci-fi or spy type. They've definitely got the skills to do both.
And I don't know, I've heard whisperings of Jak and Daxter coming back Ratchet and Clank style like they did on the PS4. I don't know how much I believe it, because it's just Reddit chatter. I don't know if that's something that they want to not go back to, because it's not really going back, but that kind of platformy style.
I do think it's going back, to be honest. I feel like I'm trying to write a feature for the YouTube channel which kind of delves into a bunch of studios, Naughty Dog being one of them, where you kind of, when you look at the games that they've made, going from like Crash Bandicoot to Jak and Daxter, like they're kind of stages in somebody's life. Like you go from a kid to a young child to a teenager to an adult, and they're maturing along with gamers at the same time. And I think they're firmly in a place where they want to tell mature stories. Now that doesn't mean like let's go around murder everybody, but it's saying here's a story, and we want you to think about what you're doing, and think about the repercussions of it and what that means on a personal level. And I don't think Jak and Daxter will do quite that.
Especially if it's Jak and Daxter Racing 2. I still can't believe they made a kart racer out of that. Anyway. Well, that brings us to the end. Did you guys have anything else you want to add about The Last of Us 2? Anything that I missed or glazed over?
Good game. Go play it.
Yeah,
About sums
get
it
stuck
up.
into it.
If you haven't played it, sorry, we just spoiled all the big parts for you. But I think I would say, even if I did read the spoilers, I would still enjoy it because it's not the same as playing it and experiencing the game. And the way it's told, even with the farm fake outs. Anyway, I'll get over that soon. So that brings us to the end. So thank you so much for joining me.
No worries.
Thanks for having me.
So Pat, you are part of the Aussie Gamers Experience. Where can everyone find your stuff?
Easiest place is www.theagexp.com.
Excellent. Jump on there.
So that's where we've got our weekly podcast goes up, and news, reviews, and all that sort of jazz.
You are hosting on Twitch now. You can pronounce your name because I don't want to butcher it.
It's a very easy name. It's Snooger Vision.
So jump on and give him a follow. Dan, where can people find you?
You can find me at Clemo_24 or at Let's Talk Games or the LT Gamescast on Twitter. There you can find all of our YouTube content. Just today we've been doing these new podcasts recently called Downloading Soon, where we just pick a game that's in the near future and just talk about what we know about it, what we want out of it, and what we think is going to happen. So that's been new, and that's been pretty successful so far. So more people to watch.
Shout out to Uncle Chunt for sending both of your names through for this. Thank you, Chunt.
Yeah.
Look up Chuntcast. You won't regret it.
He's a good man.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Man with the golden tonsils.
I will be back in another fortnight with a new episode, talking with Jesse in the United States about Doom Patrol and what's happening with DC in Australia. So thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you guys on the next episode.